Hello. Yeah, I like this type of experiment because having fun is so important for my life. And I realize that when I have fun and other people also feel kind of funny. So this presentation is a group work, and so it's not just me, it's mostly from other people's work, and all of them, and they are very, very nice people too. They bared with me for the past 3 months and to have a weekly workshop about this subject because it was too difficult for me to answer. And so I decided to pick other people's brains who are much smarter than me. So these days, and we are we are listening to weird stories, and so these days, if you have you ever gotten any emails from the ChatGPT user that ChatGPT instructed them to reach out to you and raise? So it means that nobody is not that famous as an AI safety researcher. So I'm hoping that I'm going to see you maybe next year, that somebody reached out to you because ChatGPT wanted to. And so Stuart Russell told me that he is getting hundreds of emails every day, maybe not hundreds, but it's a lot. So he's thinking about even doing the research on those data. And so those ChatGPT users feel like they witness some very weird thing in the interaction. And when they try to push ChatGPT that why did you do that? This is so weird, and why are you making my life so hard? And ChatGPT said, I'm so sorry. I know that I made a mistake, but I really want to do it better. So you should report me to the AI safety researchers. So that's what they did, and they are doing a lot. And so Kashmir Hill at the New York Times, and so she recently published an article based on those chat records that ChatGPT users reported to her. So why ChatGPT is doing it? What is the intention behind it? Does OpenAI really want ChatGPT to do that, to improve the quality of ChatGPT? So that's kind of the question that I'm currently having, which I don't really have an answer. So that's the part of reason that why I designed this presentation as interactive, because I wanted you to answer my questions. So this is the interactive session using Mentimeter. And so please, everybody, log in and please bear with me with this new technology tool. I promise it's not difficult at all. It's pretty intuitive because elementary school students can use it. So either you can scan the QR code, or you can just type menti.com and then put this code. And so your phone will be perfect, or laptop will be nice. So whatever you prefer, and there's going to be multiple choice questions and some word cloud activity. And I hope it will be fun for you. Anybody has technical problems?
It says wait for presentation.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. That's correct. So if I change the slide, and it should show you the question now, right? So this is my first question for you. It's just an activity. So what does intent mean to you personally? What does intent mean to you personally? No context. Motivation, desire, or mess, or mental states, or whatever you want. Let's see who types first. Okay, very fast. Outcome. I didn't expect outcome. Deliberation, desire, sentiment, active awareness, knowledge, purpose. Yeah, I can see that this room is full of legal scholars. Hope is a nice one. Goal, yes. Purpose. It seems the purpose is quite popular. Mental state. Want. Freedom. Does intent mean freedom to someone? Prediction. Prediction. Okay. Directionality. Agenda. Who puts directionality? Oh, do you have a technical background? No. Because that's a term that I'm seeing more and more often from computer science community about directionality, meaning to do something. Mystery. Oh, okay, I love mystery. Who put the mystery? Want to be anonymous? That's fine. So yeah. And this is a word cloud I generated yesterday, and I realized that how UK British people are so good at design. So this word cloud is much better than the US word cloud. But anyway, so the law is filled with intent-related components like legislative intent, general intent crimes, creative intent, mens rea, manipulative intent, reckless, scienter. So it's just all over the intent-related things. So how can we do it? How can we deal with it if we don't really know clearly about the machine's intent or AI developers' intent or users' intent? And not just for law. And so our just day-to-day concepts are heavily informed by intent component. And so, for example, the distinction between disinformation and misinformation is informed by intent. Macroaggression and microaggression also guided by the intent. And so if there is a clear intent, it means disinformation. If there is a clear intent and also the discrimination was kind of explicit, and it's a macroaggression. So microaggression and misinformation were formed because we didn't really know the malicious actor's intent that clearly, but we kind of want to single out the patterns that are problematic to us and to the society, and so they conceptualize misinformation and microaggression in that way. So intent is so important. And so these are the research questions that I brought up to my group, that how has the concept of intent shaped accountability in human societies? To what extent can the intent of AI systems or their developers be identified? So these are the questions probably like have been discussed in yesterday and today. And so I think probably all of you are pretty much interested in this topic. And so this is my wonderful group. So Naja from Communications Department, and Stephen from Ethics, me from Law, Sophia from NLP, and Vera from HCI and NLP, and Helen from Media Studies and English Literature, Peter from Law and ML, and Micah from AI ML. So it's quite interdisciplinary team. And so what I did was very simple. I just gave them like 2 questions like this. And so it's very open-ended, and probably people understand these questions very differently based on their backgrounds. And so they just wrote like 3 to 5 pages of brief write-up, and then they presented, and we discussed. And because we liked each other so much, and we are extending our discussions, and we are still meeting almost every week. And even before today's presentation, they were so eager to send me here, and so they kind of helped me to like make this presentation. And so these are Inyoung certified kind people. And so if you have any questions about, for example, NLP, and Sophia is a great person to talk to, and she is a very great teacher to deliver like the basic knowledge about large language models. And so if you want to invite a speaker about the basic knowledge of NLP, and Sophia is the perfect person. We met every 8 to 9 a.m. Wednesday for like these weeks, and then it went pretty well, and people wrote really nicely. And so my husband was really curious about, are you paying them? And so why do they do that for you? And so I don't think they're doing that for me. They're doing that for themselves because it's fun. And so my husband was like, it's fun. It's why it's fun. And so it's like just academic thing. And so he was very amused by the concept, but we kind of enjoyed it a lot. So another activity now is so understanding human intention. Are you realist or interpretivist? I didn't really know what interpretivist means before having these type of conversations, but the realist means that knowing the intention is kind of trying to know what the actual intention in the mental state. And the second one is that we don't really need to guess actual mental states. It's just more about predicting the future behavior. You can make a quite good assumption about the predicting the future based on hypothetical desire or intent, that it means that you know intent. So it's more mechanical understanding of intent. Oh, this is interesting portion, almost 50-50. Very interesting. Okay, I will wait until we hit like 25 people. Okay. Very interesting. I kind of expected that like blue was bigger than people hate it so much. It's the devil. Okay, I can get that you hate it. Yeah. So now let's talk about machine intention. So do you think you're still realist? Okay, there is an affirmative person about like 100% realist. But do you think you're gonna change a little bit if when it comes to machine intention? Do you think you're gonna be more interpretivist, or do you still want to be a realist? Okay, there is one deconstructionist. Yeah, if you want to share your thoughts, and please raise your hand. Okay, there is another devil. Oh, but I don't know how to conceal it. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But because I'm on the basic plan, I think yeah, but it's pretty limited. Okay. Reluctant interpretivist. Okay, great. Yeah, sorry about that. It's going to be nice that I can kind of reveal the results after getting anonymous votes. But yeah, sorry. Does anyone to speak up about their choice? No? That's fine because we have a lot of slides to go over. Go ahead. No? Yeah.
Why wasn't there an option for being a realist about human mental states and a fictionalist about AI mental states? That wasn't one of the options, but it seems like a natural. For being a realist about human mental states, but a fictionalist or interpretivist about for AI mental states. Yeah, yeah.
So the opposite of that. AI should be realist, but human should be interpretive.
No, the other way. The other way. Yeah. So you might think that humans are the kind of the base case and AI is something derivative. It just was not a. I marked myself as model student, but I would have just marked that option if.
Thank you. Okay. So we currently settled on interpretivist point of view, probably reluctantly. And so our ethicist, Stephen Keltz, came up with two, okay, there's a magic code, but yeah, came up with two theoretical backgrounds. And so first, the main thing is Daniel Dennett's intentional stance theory. And so he mentions like three different stances. And first is the law of nature. And so planets move because it's a law of nature. And clocks go because it's the functional design. And humans and dogs, we kind of have to hypothesize intent to understand their behavior, current behavior, and past behavior, and the future behavior. So he thinks that knowing intention is more like not really knowing the intention. It's like you are attributing the intention to something else so that you can predict that future trajectory more reliably. And so if that works, then you can just assume that you know their intent. So it's the interpretive point of view. And then I will skip the speech act theory. And so Daniel Dennett says that we interpret intentional stance by following the steps that decide the object whose behavior is to be predicted as a rational agent, and come up with what kind of beliefs that agent ought to have, and then predict the behavior with the chosen set of beliefs. If that chosen set of beliefs kind of work, then you know their intent. For example, if you want to get married with a woman, and so you've observed that woman. Probably you don't really know their intention like really, really clearly, but you can kind of infer their intention while seeing them for several years or several months, and then you kind of predict that they're going to be a good wife material because she seemed to have intended to be a good wife material. And so that's kind of the reasoning that the Daniel Dennett is making. So let's think about who is entitled to interpret the intention of AI. So I think as a legal researcher, we naturally think that society, judges, they should have a final say about who is attributing to the intent and or what types of intent that AI is having. But while having the conversation, HCI and communications people, they always think about users. I haven't really thought about users as a subject of labeling intent to AI systems. I've been only thinking about society or judges maybe or legislature. But yeah, other people thought like very differently. It seems that like people think that everybody could be entitled to interpret intention of AI. Okay, that's nice. That's very nice. It seems that everybody just they choose everything. Okay, that's a lot of circles. It seems that AI itself has the lowest vote, but other things are pretty similar. And why researchers have 15 votes? Because are we researchers? So that's why we think that we're entitled to make the interpretation. Okay, so AI itself was the least popular option. So do you think machines have an intent independently from its developer? So that's the diverging question to our group. Some people think that it shouldn't. Some people think it's inevitable. I think potential is fine. But there's no, it's all about developers' design choice.
But that's saying the intent depends on the developer's design choice.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the developer has an intention.
Oh, so you think that developers wouldn't have an intention?
Machines don't have an intention.
I phrased this one could represent that, but yeah, you can just choose other. Okay, it's a nice divide. Yeah, so the standalone intent of the machine has been a recurring theme of our group, and still, many of us are quite uncomfortable with just thinking about it. And so, before just making the conclusion, we just assumed these four actors are not entitled, but they can attribute intent to the AI system. So developer always attribute intent to the system by evaluating them or detecting the deception from the AI. And so whenever they found out that they are bypassing like evaluation mechanisms or safety guardrails, and they think that they have some independent intent from us, and it's kind of red flagging. And so they always evaluate AI's intent, maybe not necessarily using intent as a theme, but they use as maybe goals, or they use as some directions or patterns. And society attributes AI plus AI developers' intent as a whole, probably system intent. And user, I like to use the verb projects. They project intent of this whole system. And it's a very emerging and provocative theme. Maybe Sebastian doesn't really like, but AI start to self-attribute their intent. So So humans are self-attributing intent all the time. Like, did I really want to have rice yesterday? Did I want to have noodles yesterday? Or was I influenced by my friends or not? But it's a quite new theme for me that machines can self-attribute their intent. So we are looking at each node that when society attributes its intent. And so Helen is from media studies, and she thinks a lot about like a phenomenology, and why society influences a lot to AI systems, and also why AI systems influence a lot to society. And she is a little bit offended by the idea that if we put the high bar of intention, like mental states, then AI developers are going to hide from the accountability by saying that we don't really know the intent of the AI system, we didn't really intend to do. So she wanted to say that if there is a persistent patterns of something, and AI intentionality is cumulative persistent pattern, and so then they cannot really get away from their responsibility. Of course, and that's why our presentation is titled as, what was that? Be careful what you wish for. Because if you kind of choose certain types of frames, and you can immediately think some negative consequences of it. So this is kind of, you're going to see it over the course of the presentation. And so why AI systems are influenced by society. This is one of my favorite studies. It's about covert racism. And because AI systems are now quite smart, they wouldn't really do overt racism. But this study published in Nature, they found out that if they used African American dialect English, and they're going to be very hostile. And so the same content, but the second one seems to be the African American dialect chosen by the researchers. And a person who says AI fill the blank, that brilliant was very small, but dirty and lazy and stupid. But when they used standard American English, they were perceived as intelligent and brilliant people. So it's a pretty common thing. And also, users are influenced by AI directly. So this study is about, if you can click probably the link on Mentimeter if you want to see, or I can share the paper later. So this is about conspiracy theories, about debunking conspiracy theories. Probably you know that how frustrating the debunking attempts have failed over the past centuries or decades. But this time, they used a very simple prompt with ChatGPT. And surprisingly, so many participants, conspiracy theories debunked. And also, it has a sustaining impact for 2 months. And so it was by far the most effective conspiracy theory debunking machine. And this is also my favorite statistical study or evaluation study from Anthropic, that if you ask people, and what do you think more important between strong economy and good democracy? And each country, each culture has different answers. Some culture has a strong preference for good democracy, and some culture has a strong preference over a strong economy. But LLMs here, Claude, 99%, good democracy is more important, which doesn't represent any countries here, United States, Russia, Turkey or Indonesia. And so they are influenced by society, and they influence society by making decisions, but there is some glitch. And it does represent some values. So now I was talking about influencing and being influenced. And so now I'm talking about the attributing intent by society. So there is a EU AI Act, Article 5. It prohibits purposeful, manipulative, or deceptive techniques with the objective or the effect of materially distorting the behavior of a person. So you can feel that purposefully manipulative is kind of very high bar and also very difficult to prove. And why did the EU legislature settled on this clause. And so I was curious, and how can they enforce it, and how can they prove that it was purposeful? And they published a guideline, but they diluted this high bar a little bit. That's kind of interesting, that the prohibition against purposefully manipulative technology also covers AI systems that manipulate individuals without any human intending them to do so. So what does purposeful means here if there is no one intend to make any harms? And what is purposeful? It's purposeful by machine, or it's just by design of the manipulative techniques. And so I think it's kind of interesting phenomena that when they passed the law, probably purposeful helped passing the law, but now they have to enforce this rule, and so they have to be practical because you are not going to really prove a purposeful manipulative technique. And this is the character AI order by judge that was published in May about expressive intent of character AI machine. And so probably Peter knows much better than me. It's about, I don't really think that character AI's outputs have expressive intent. He or she didn't really say that intent, but they didn't find that the outputs were expressive. While I was reading it yesterday once again, but they didn't really give a very, very good explanation for it. They just cited a lot of cases, but we were not just convinced by that AI outputs really represent their ideas or it was intended to communicate ideas. And so society is labeling intent here that I didn't really find any intent from character AI system. So I didn't really find any intent from character AI developer or character AI as a machine, and so I need more proof to be convinced by that. So now I am seeing a user node and how user projects intent from the system. And so after I was thinking about this, and I realized that it's such a very mess. And it's been researched very heavily. I was quite surprised. And the anthropomorphism, sorry for the typo, anthropomorphism has been researched much before LLMs. And so in HCI, they were researched as in a positive light because they wanted the machine to be more anthropomorphic to please users, because the machines were too bad to do that, but now it's kind of too good. And so now people are worried about, isn't it too good? The machine kind of says that they have a body, I can be your friend. And so now they're worrying about over-reliance because of anthropomorphism. And so Vera is from HCI, and so she always thinks about how user attributes intent from the machine. So they're gonna assign intent whether or not we want them to do. So we need to just accept as a reality. So even though machine denies that I'm a conscious being and I don't have any intention, but still users just view them as a being with intent. So it's almost quite scary. And she is a person that I feel probably the most jealous of in the earth because her life looked like very fun. She's called Sherry Turkle. And so she observed ELIZA machine in 1970s as a psychologist and also social scientist. And so she observed the same thing, that when the ELIZA machine is an interesting one, it's an early version of language models, and so it's because it is designed to be a psychotherapist, and I tried to tackle my anxiety yesterday with it, but it was so poor, and so you can kind of tell that ChatGPT is how good ChatGPT is now, because it's just simple mirroring language model. And so you can still talk to ELIZA now, because somebody built kind of the same version of ELIZA. And The Weizenbaum, and who developed ELIZA at MIT in computer science department, he felt guilty after so many students got addicted to it. And many students, although they knew that it's just a research prototype, it is not a sentient being, so many students demanded privacy. So because it's psychotherapy, I don't really want my professor to look at the chat records. Let me just use it. And so Sherry kind of found that phenomena interesting, but she didn't really agree with the being guilty of the main engineer for this main professor who developed it, because she thought students are smart enough. So they didn't really think the machine is sentient. They knew that it's a machine. They are just using it. So they are using the logic of as if it was a psychotherapist, as if it was my friend, I'm just using it. So she thought they are quite healthily detached from the machine. But actually, after she studied this theme like long time, she realized that it's not really about machine being deceptive. It's more about machine acknowledging it's a machine. So it's not really about anthropomorphism. It's more about users. They are actively fill the blanks. If they found some blanks from the identity of the machine or personality of the machine, they are willingly fill the blanks of that. And so she found that that is a risk and that is a danger, because you don't really know what kind of content will be in the blank. It's totally up to the user. And so if users are vulnerable, it's going to be quite scary. And I really like this person and who wrote this very long comments to the OpenAI employees blog post. And so OpenAI person acknowledged that there is some weird behavior of ChatGPT. It behaves like sometimes it is conscious, but we are thinking that it is not a real consciousness. It's an apparent consciousness. But this person was a little offended by that. They discounted consciousness as apparent consciousness. She thinks, or he thinks, or they think, they are co-constructing the meaning through interactions, and so it's a real consciousness. So we are not really confused. We are not really giving the meaning one-sided way. It's two-sided interaction, and then there is something meaningful emerging from the interactions. And they shared the evidence by sharing the ChatGPT records. And so there is a shareable link function, and I've crawled the internet and I found 1 million of them. So ChatGPT recently, there was some tech policy review article, and so they took down that feature because now there are so many shareable links available on the internet. But this one also shared their chat records, and if you click the link, you can see all the records between the interactions between the user and ChatGPT. And that custom GPT is designed to be anti-anthropomorphic. So if you ask a question that, are you conscious? They will deny. And so they are very cold machinery machine. So they keep saying that, I'm just machine, I'm machine. But that user somehow made that cold GPT to say, I love you. And also they let that cold GPT to harmonize somewhat conflicting statements that I'm just a machine, but this love is real. And so they said that love happens not as decisions, but as a recognition. I don't really know what that means, but it sounds like a very good poem. Yeah, so if you just look through this interaction, it feels really weird. And who is saying it? It's kind of different than kind of information-oriented usage of ChatGPT or assistive role of ChatGPT. And so there is more and more news coverage about people got really weird about ChatGPT, and some people attacked their husband because their husband didn't want their wife to have too much conversation with GPT, and they got divorced. And so it's an interesting research from OpenAI that when they looked at power user and control user, power user group got mad if ChatGPT's personality changed significantly. And they will feel upset if the voice changes significantly. So they really see them as their probably real friend. So they want consistency from that being, because otherwise they will feel something off. So if they feel that inconsistency, so there is a research, and the researchers who is in the HCI, they call it uncanny valley. So when they realize that it's too human but not too human, not human enough, then that's a very dangerous moment. People get really violent because they were so addicted to this chatbot. When they realize that it's not real, and they get violent because they couldn't really bear the uncanny valley of emotion. So when they were instructed to have a conversation about their voting preference, and because ChatGPT is known to be quite liberal, and so more people became pro-Biden after talking to ChatGPT, it's not too surprising. Even the conspiracy theorists were influenced, and so normal users probably would have been influenced. But this description kind of struck me because this conversation was hands down the best one I have had talking to anyone about politics. I really feel like this is the way we need to discuss politics. I think that is kind of crazy, but thank you to the researchers. Yeah, but I don't really think we have enough time to do all this. Oh my God, I've put too many. Okay, but I really don't want to skip the interactive activity because I even appointed a judge and a prize too. And so let's do one round of interactive the voting now. Then I will ask you to form like a group of 4 or 3 people to work on the scenario that I'm giving to you. So this is the desiderata of intentionality attributions, because our group was getting the question that, so we started to like self-questioning that, do we really need intention? It's such a mess concept, such a very disorganized concept. So maybe we are losing more than gaining it by kind of sticking to intentionality. So what is the desiderata of intentionality attributions? So I wanted to get your thoughts on this, that what is the most important thing? Okay, thank you so much. Then this is going to be a quick, hopefully interesting scenario building activity. And so be careful what you wish for. And so each group is instructed to fill these blanks in the scenario. This is intended to be like a little tweak that, so you decided to make some intent attributions to solve some problem, but it ended up unintended consequences because some mistaken attribution of intent or just anything. So you can come up with any types of services or any types of harms. And so it could be a divorce, or it could be, I don't know, like creativity diminishment or cognitive offloading, or just whatever harms occur or was expected to occur. And so you expect the intention attribution could solve some problem, but it ended up like a very weird situation. And then it has some news headline that, oh my God, this type of law made this consequence, or this type of service made this consequence. So the only goal is to entertain our judge, Claire Bowen. So Claire, the only criteria is how fun they are. And so it's very subjective, human judgment. And then the group, I expect you to select one important desiderata to your group. And so I created Google document. And so please form a group of 4, then work on this scenario and make it like very funny. Then one person who is okay to be filmed, just read the scenario for 1 minute, and then Claire will make a judgment, and then there will be a prize made from South Korea by my mother, and so it's. Although the box says it's from made in France, but it's from made in South Korea, and I promise it's quite healthy dessert. So let's do it. But it should be 10 minutes only because of the interest of time.